Well, hello and welcome to the Ramon Foster Show, brought to you by the Get Go Cafe and Market, where they're open 24/7 with hot, fresh food. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports, and I'm guessing that means he has to be Ramon.
This guy.
What's up, Ramon?
Not much. You can be me, man. You're tall enough.
that's all about all. I have your height,
My height.
and that's about it.
Skill set. Hey, the way you work the pen is good. Now I'll give you that one.
I'll tell you what, I don't like my chances against Geno Atkins in the trenches, though.
Oh,
You know?
you'll be all right. You'll be all right.
I'd be all right for half a second.
Close your eyes and hold on, DK.
We are getting close to actual football, and
Finally.
if we sound a little extra excited this week, that's got to be why. Steelers against the Bills for an opener. That's a really nice matchup that maybe, Moan, on the national scale might fly a little bit under the radar for a good opener, you know?
No, it may, but I'll say this. This game has a lot of storylines behind it, too. If you're smart, you want to see what the young guy Josh Allen is going to be like with that offense. If him and Stephon Diggs are what they say they are, you got people picking them to be some Super Bowl contenders.
Yep.
They've made some necessary changes and changed that culture around. And you got to also look on the other side of the tape. Isn't that what they say in competitions? On the other side of the tape.
Mm-hmm.
You got Ben coming back from the shoulder. We saw a small sample size of what he did in the preseason game. They're also Najee Harris is a part of this fold. You got a young offensive line that's coming along. Of course, the receiving core is good. And then this defense. Can this Pittsburgh defense hold up against a really good quarterback, we think, in Josh Allen? He's proven to be that. $248 million or $58 million given this offseason. That garners a whole lot of attention, man. And being that, TJ and Cam and those guys are coming off the edge, this is going to be interesting.
Oh, I think it will. And let's not pretend, and I'm not just saying this because I'm talking to an offensive lineman, that this is going to be decided anywhere other than right there up front.
Yeah.
I think almost everyone can agree on that in this context.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, these contexts, both of them. From the Pittsburgh perspective, we've all been talking about the offensive line now for months, and we'll get to that in a second. But Buffalo, the Bills themselves have really retooled their defensive front. It was their greatest disappointment last season. And Brandon Beane, the GM up there, really went out of his way to emphasize one way or another, we're going to figure this out again. Because you think about it, Moan, the Bills were a top 3 defense 2 years in a row. And then last year, they were anything but.
Yeah, and it gives like that it's ebbs and flow of balancing a roster and trying to figure out what do you do next, man. And they did. They went out and did what they're supposed to do. The first 2 picks, and we discussed it just a second ago, but they went out and got first 2 D linemen. The first 2 picks of this past draft.
The draft.
2 D linemen. First rounder out of Miami, and then Basham out of Wake Forest.
Greg Rousseau and Carlos Basham.
Greg Rousseau, that's a hell of a name, ain't it? Rousseau. Isn't that a cool name right there? If he makes it, boy, it's gonna be Greg Rousseau. But the kids are supposed to be good, man. And not only that, on that line, they got a guy I told you before, it's been around for a long time. Jerry Hughes, solid rusher. Ed Oliver's pretty solid. You got Star Lodolele and Mario Addison, which we've seen a good bit too when we played Carolina every year in the preseason, number 1. But every 4 years when we saw them line up, they have some rushers. It's a matter of fact of can they have depth? Those young guys that they went and got, are they going to be able to fill that void also? You saw it earlier. How many D linemen do they have on their roster?
Yeah, they're carrying 11. I mean, 11. It's like, and that tells you that the GM's commitment doesn't apply only to whoever's lining up for the start of the game. They're probably going to see the Steelers are a pretty heavy rotation of those guys. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be a challenge right off the bat in week 1. I don't want to overstate what Buffalo has. They don't have what Pittsburgh has up front. There are arguments made that the Steelers had the number 1 overall defensive front in the NFL. So. But the Bills made strides, no question, toward
they got
back
numbers.
To where they were. Mm-hmm.
They have numbers, and not only that, man. I personally think they have one of the best young linebackers in the world, and Tremaine Edmonds,
Yeah.
Terrell's brother. I heard stories about this guy in camp from guys I know that was in camp with him in rookie year, and he was just saying, like, I asked him, I said, man, how good is this Edmonds dude? Like, he should probably be playing DN instead of, a middle
Yeah.
linebacker, because he's so tall and rangy. He was like, no lie, he runs like a deer. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, when we were all tired, he was just still going. And I think that's what they are trying to do. They're trying to surround guys around him so that he can go do that stuff. I heard his speed is out of this world. We've seen that. He's a young, budding star in this league. And not only just him, but Matt Milano is another guy that's in middle linebacker that I think they recently paid in Buffalo. Again, the first line of their defense is solid. What they did this offseason was said, let's re-up, let's find some young talent, because there has to be balance. They got a bunch of older guys that are either, hold a good part of the salary cap, or they're owed some money. So they went and figured out some young guys.
Yeah, and speaking of young guys, that's who's going to be taking them on. That's the other component here. We've seen things play out with the Steelers on the offensive line front this week, where we now have, it seems like, a pretty good picture, barring any major surprises, as to what they're going to do. Left to right, it's going to be Dan Moore, the 4th-round rookie at left tackle. I know. I see you cringing there.
I know.
Kevin Dotson next to him, Kendrick Green, Trey Turner, the only real veteran of the group at right guard, and then Chuks Okorafor back at his, I guess you could call it his natural position, but the one that he spent the most time in the NFL at right tackle. Moan, where are you, 1 to 10 on a nervous scale?
I'm about a 6 or 7.
Okay.
Just because it is a lot of youth, and they've done well this preseason. I believe in that group because why? I helped bring some of those guys through. So I know they have the ability to do it, but it's one of those things where it's like, where you teach your kids how to drive. As long as you're in the car with them, you're fine. You're nervous. And I'm not even at that point. I'm just imagining it coming forward. But as soon as you say, hey, go run to the store to get this, and you give them the keys to yourself by themselves, it's like, oh, my gosh, I hope you're going to be okay. That's where I'm at with them. It's like they're driving on the road for the first time, because this is a big test. And it's not like it's an NFC team. This is an AFC team, a damn good AFC team. And they're going to have their hands full. We know, if anything, that first quarter, first half is going to be lights out, because nobody wants to start off 0-1. And what better way to attack? The Steelers have strong points everywhere on the field, except the biggest question mark is that offensive line.
Yeah, and the variable in that, obviously, that's a little bit actually the most unsettling by a mile, is that the left tackle in particular is protecting your Canton-bound franchise quarterback. And that's where we get into one of the decisions. Mike Tomlin kind of downplayed this week, mostly because he downplays everything. But if you get into why Dan Moore is where he is and why Chuks is where he is, they got into comfort level. Moore, when he was at Texas A&M, spent 3 years on the left side.
On the left.
And I think
starts have been on the right.
And Chuks' starts. And I think they reached the point between Adrian Clem and Tomlin and Matt Canada where they just said, look, we know we're not going to have Zach Banner. Now Banner's on IR, which means he's got to miss at least 3 games. We know we're not going to have him. Let's just go for maximum comfort level.
Yeah, and that's a good thing to do, too. One thing you can't be as a coach and with players is to make them play in positions they're not used to. We've heard guys go through this all the time. Well, the coach didn't, and we think they're just, complaining. And a lot of the time, though, it goes to be true. Coaches can use you wrong. Dan Moore is a guy that comes out of a university that played big-time ball. He's a big-time player, big kid. And if he's played on the left side, why make him go right? It's just at a point where it's just like, you don't have enough time. Zach is on IR.
Yes.
And that's where the decision's got to be made. Am I nervous for the kid? I think we all are. But in the same sense, he's got to be a true pro. And the same thing that the guys told me when it was my time to start playing too, hey, grow up. You're not a rookie no more. It's time for you to realize now this is what you dream for, what you asked for. Go get it.
Yeah, this is, the thing about Moore that jumps out at me, and this was after I paid special attention to him this week in practice
Okay.
for obvious reasons, is that there's a real maturity about him. Actually, that applies to Dotson as well, where you just see these guys and Green. They don't strike you as rookies. You know who does actually out of the whole group is Banner. You know what I mean? Like, because he can be kind of a goofy guy and everything else. The rest of them are so serious and so poised.
But that's a damn good thing, DK, because they know what's in front of them. If they capitalize on these moments, man, this is going to be huge for just not now, for the rest of their careers. Like the more kid has a way to like really put a stake in the ground.
Oh yeah. Are you kidding? At that position?
If we can be honest, DK, it's a business, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've run across a lot of people that you like and you love. Like, man, I hope that guy stay around. But if Danmore goes out and play well, and you got two guys, well, you got one guy in particular, and who's coming up on the contract, what happens, DK?
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm not saying that's going to happen, but like I know, the business will find a way to try to make it work for itself.
And the business will always find a way to reward the left tackle. Let's not forget about that.
Yes, they will. But I have confidence in Chooks more than anything. I'm looking on that very young left side. And like you said, if they're mature as you say they are, I'll roll with it too, because really you got no option right now.
No, you really don't. When we come back, we're going to talk about pass versus run in this offense. Welcome back to the Ramon Foster Show, brought to you by the Get Go Cafe and Market. I'm Dejan Kovacevic. He's Ramon. And Ramon, we're going to be looking at pass versus run here for this Bills game in particular. This is the one game that you as an offensive coordinator have months to script.
Yeah.
It's it's too much time. Okay. How much do you expect the Steelers to engage in? I mean, you've worked with Matt Kennedy. You know what he wants to do here. What do you expect here from this offense? A lot of pass, a lot of run?
I say establishing a run. That's been the main topic this entire offseason. Last year, even with the struggles, is we got to find the run. We got to find a run. Well, what better way to do it with this defense, and also with the with the topic of this being a young OL. Well, the thing that we know about this group is they can't wait to get physical. That's what we've seen in a little bit of the preseason. That's what Adrian Clem said that he was going to do with this group, is get them physical. I think they're a bigger group. We know that this group has some size to them, from Trey all the way over. Chooks is a big guy too. We spoke a little bit about the Buffalo Bills defense, particularly their defensive line. If you're smart, you see it's not a whole lot of depth. You go beat those guys up until they finally crack. And also, you got a young stud in Najee Harris right now that's ready to go, ready to show that he belongs in this league. Why not put him on display? Why not let him settle in? The big shots, the reverses, the motions, and all of that should be a setup for the run, period. I think that's where they should live at. This game against the Bills has to be, hey, we can use Ben if we want to. We have him because he's one of the best ever. But the run game has to be set now. Because if this is Ben's last year, you want this group moving on to whoever the next quarterback's going to be with a lot of confidence, man. And I think the best thing to do is to have a guy like Ben say, hey, put it on his back. I'm here to support you also. When the time comes, we'll go to the air. And the receivers are going to understand that too, because if you can get the run game started, the passing game comes quick. You can have 3 receivers still out there and run the ball well. Yeah. That's what I'm looking for with this group, especially in this first game. Like I said, I don't think Buffalo's depth is real big. And I say you beat them down as much as you can. Yeah, that might be some 3-and-outs, but guess what? We're going to chip away at this rock until we can't no more. If you trust that defense.
Yeah, that's
you
what
trust
I was
the Steelers defense.
About the 3-and-out, because this is something in your playing days that you and I talked a lot about, and actually so did all of you guys on the offensive line, was about committing to the run.
Yeah.
Committing. Now, we can talk until we're blue in the face about committing, but you just mentioned a 3-and-out. And I'm going to give you the hypothetical. They go out there, first series, 1 yard, loss of 2, incomplete pass. What do you do in the next series? Because go ahead. What do you do?
I got to come out and run it again because that shows I'm here all day. That's what the run game is about. It's so easy, DK, to go to a 2-yard slant to try to get 5 yards or a quick screen outside or a receiver doing a reverse on a trick play. Like, no, our years where we were better as a team, as an offense, it was simply this. We knew we were going to run the ball. They knew we were going to run the ball. I tell this all the time, not all the time, but I said we used to line up and tell them, hey, we're running the ball right here. Stop it. That's where you go. That gives confidence to their offensive line also. And again, the years that we had big-time rushes, we also had 1,000-yard receivers.
Yes.
Guys who went to other teams that got big contracts still. That's just a bonus. And why not use this youth that you have? They're coming off the ball damn good. They're moving guys around.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's one of the things that I wanted to bring up with you was when you have the young guys and you simplify the game. Not that these guys are dumb by any stretch of the imagination. It's
simplicity is the best, I promise you. Yeah.
Well, yeah. But that's what I wanted to say here is that if your positional coach, Adrian Clem, has spent the whole summer and the whole offseason emphasizing physical, go hit that guy. Pound him, move him back. Doesn't that make running the ball that much more logical?
It does. And that's what I have a feeling they're going to do and rely on this year. Ben is going to have his yards. There's no other way around that. They're going to get him. That talent in that room, I looked at it recently because I was doing a comparison for my job here in Nashville. And I was just looking at him. I was like, oh, my. Number one, everybody's homegrown in that room right now at wide receiver. That's Deontay, James Washington, Chase Claypool, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Ray McLeod, all homegrown guys. They understand what it is moving forward. They know they're going to get the ball. And I think if they're smart, they move forward and they use themselves also in the running game to block. Because if the run game eats, they will eat. I don't know if there's a more talented core. Just being completely honest, there might be bigger names at other teams. But I read you all 5 guys that's on the active roster right now, and those 5 guys can go play for some other team right now.
Well, I definitely throw in Pat Freiermuth at tight end too as a target.
Didn't mention him.
Oh, and by the way, one of the guys who lines up at wide receiver all the time is 22. Expect to see a lot of that from Najee Harris. They're not even trying to make it a secret.
And also Eric Ebron, who's a big athlete also. I mean, there's mixed matches all over the field, and the run game, though, has to be established. And you know what? This is something I feel like we lacked also towards the end because the pass game just got too easy, too. It genuinely did. Ben knows what the hell he's doing in no huddle. Like, it is a work of art, DK. Like, dog, he just give us, hey, 52. 76. Like, he go to the line. I got it from here. And his communication with those guys up front when it's his time to do it is amazing. But what you get caught up in sometime towards the latter part of the season is when the ball going to look cold, gloves, you got to figure out which ones work to catch the ball and stuff like that. It's the fact that you got to rely heavy on that run game. And if for anything this year with that 17th game, with the playoff structure the way it is, and the teams that you're going to see, Baltimore, Titans, Bills, all of the A1 teams in the league, the Browns, controlling the game against them, who's got a 2-headed monster in the backfield, you better get a defensive breather and run that ball the way you're supposed to.
When we come back, a slice of life with Ramon that I know what this is about, and you're not going to want to miss it. Welcome back to the Ramon Foster Show. He's Ramon, I'm Dan, and this is our Slice of Life with Ramon segment, which generally we have no plan for this show. We just like kind of show up and whatever. And then the way this works is Ramon starts telling something. I just say, how are you, Ramon? And he starts with some really good story. And I say, hang on, we're using that today. So here it is. Congratulations, Ramon, on what did you do? Adopt somebody the way you worded it to me?
I told you earlier. I was like, man, I just became a father of a 13-year-old. You was like, what?
Did you adopted?
Yeah, I was like what? No, which is a beautiful process. Okay, I was like, nah. My kid RJ became a teenager today. Today's his birthday. He turned 13. So it was kind of cool, man. Number one, it's awesome. His story is very unique in itself. He came into the league when I came into the league. Me and his mom married now, college sweethearts, all that beautiful stuff, man. RJ has a very unique story. Had open heart surgery, was like 4 or 5 months, 5 months old as an infant, man. Did well with that. You never know. We're gonna measure him today, DK. People listening, I think he's 13 and 6'2".
He's 6'2". And where is he as this show is being recorded?
At football practice.
Oh, he is at football practice.
He's at football practice. We got a rule in our house. You can't play football to the 7th grade, and he's 7th grade now. So, but today's his birthday, man. I've been thinking all day, like, golly, I'm a dad to a teenager. You know what I'm saying?
Share with everyone about the rule, because you've talked to me about that, about the kids where they've played other sports, but it was no football until 7th grade. Why is that?
Because to me, I feel like you put your kids in sports whenever you want to, especially tackle football. What I've seen from youth football, and I'm not trying to kill the sport when I say this is my personal opinion. I didn't play to the 7th grade. My brother Renardo, who also played in NFL, didn't play to the 9th grade. Castro didn't play to the 9th or 10th grade. You got a guy like Pouncey playing at 5 years old. Okay, so there's different spectrums, different, timelines for your kids. Me personally, I view sometimes youth football as just a pile of bodies running around. They're
a lot like youth soccer, but
it's 3, sometimes 4 kids out there maximum that really know what's going on, and everybody else is just scattered brain looking around. And I'm just like, why waste your time with that? When you get to the 7th grade, you get introduced. Now, me and RJ are at the point where we're doing stuff outside. Like, I didn't do anything with him as far as tackle football goes to get him ready, because I'm like, number one, football is a sport in which you got to be intentional about what you're doing. You have to. It's a sport where the physicality, you're gonna enjoy it, or you're going to walk away from it. So I didn't want to have any influence on any expectations of him doing it. I just tell him, if you start it, you better finish it. But the other part is, now that I see you want to do it, now we'll start working. So he's playing tight end and outside linebacker because he's a long, slender kid.
I was going to say, at that age, that would probably be – I'm sure everybody eventually is going to profile him based on his dad's career. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but they had him at quarterback too, so he's done that because he's the big kid, can see over the line. And we haven't lifted. Now at 13 is where I start introducing him to. Okay, we're finna start lifting. I'm gonna show you the technique that we need to do because you're in it. He's a 7th grader that moved himself up to the varsity, worked himself up to the varsity team because they got 2 teams, a JV in middle school and a varsity middle school team. There's that many kids out there, and he's worked himself up. He was a little disappointed initially when he didn't make the varsity squad, but now he's like, okay.
As a 7th grader?
As a 7th grader. And I had to just tell him, like, you can be mad. Be mad about playing JV, okay? But use that. Be in that. Like, go to practice, whoop up on somebody, and take advantage of your opportunity. That's my approach to it. Nobody gave me a preference to, like, tell this what you're supposed to do. But now that he's in it, I'll lead him the way, man. And that's my goal, is to push him forward with that. Now, it's just parents. It's on you if you want to, but I just think it's falling bodies until they're in middle school, honestly.
Well, it's also about playing multiple sports, which is something else we've talked about. And if you go through athletes who are successful, who make it to the major leagues, as you did, and I'm referring to any and all sports here, the number who have made it, who played one sport and focused on it entirely, is really low.
It's low. I've heard of some coaches recently that will not recruit a kid if he's only doing one thing.
Wow.
Because one, that means he's overworked in one sport. You don't find time to really work on other things also, as far as the body movements. Like, football helps my son with baseball. And that's one, honestly, if I could pick, he would pitch. Like, he's got a really good arm, if I'm being honest about it. But sliding, he's 6 foot at like 11 years old, okay, at the time. So sliding wasn't his thing. This past year they had spring ball. He's 12 years old at the time, spring ball. And just sliding in the base just wasn't. That's a long way to get down, I guess, for a kid who he's been the big kid, so he can always hit it. So he's never had to slide.
Yeah.
And eventually when you
He
get
just
older,
trot.
he just run to it, or he hit it so hard to where he's always safe.
Yeah.
But this past year has been one of those years where it's just like, yo, you got to get down. Like those grounders, you need to get down because these kids can get the ball on the infield. It couldn't click. And he do it, but it wouldn't look good. Went to spring football practice. Saw how physical it can be. Okay, summer baseball pulled up. He's sliding like it's nothing. So I think football mentally helped him realize that, look, sliding ain't a big thing. This is something that's easy, which I think, like you said, playing multiple sports, which he do football, basketball, and baseball is what he's doing. And I think that's good.
Well, you know one football player who could have taught him sliding?
Who's that?
That would be Peyton Manning, pal.
How did you not see that Denver game?
How did you not see that coming?
Don't get me started on that Denver playoff game. And I love Peyton. Go Vols, man. But
it was your hoodie that made me think of it.
Yeah, come on. When I see Peyton in person, I'm going to ask him, did you give it up? Okay.
Of course I was right behind the end zone. I saw him, and the play's over. I almost started looking around to make my notes on the play. And what do you know? The play's still going. But hey, you said not to talk about it.
He gets up and freaking throw it to Emmanuel Sanders on the sideline. I'll never forget. But the cool thing about celebrating my kid's birthday today is last night we tried to do on birthdays, make it personal, okay? So my wife asked him, RJ, what do you want me to cook for you? Like, I'll cook for you. And he was like, Mom, I kind of want lasagna. And she's like, okay, I can do that. And then 2 minutes later, he was like, but Mom, I'd rather have Dad's lasagna.
Whoa! Oh, no! That's a W in the dad column.
Dad wins that one. I was like... And I'm driving on the way back from baseball practice, okay? He had a late, and I'm looking at her, and I'm like,
that is, you can't ever let that go. She has to hear about that. Yeah.
He chose me, DK. I was like, heck yeah. Dads, we get one.
Oh, man. Well, you got to work hard on that lasagna. Every layer will be a layer of love of that pasta.
I'll be playing music and just carousing around.
Like Italian music and stuff going on. And it's like dressed up chef's hat, the whole
I got
deal.
A robe, I might put it on. I got an apron I might put on. I'm doing it up tonight. But I ain't gonna lie, man. I'm at a point where I'm realizing my kid got less years in this house than he's had. You know what I'm saying? He's 5 years away from graduating, probably closer to being out. You know it. You're a parent that's when they start driving.
Yep.
I heard when they start driving, you don't start seeing them. So for me to get a small victory, us really, because just me and his mom, get a small victory like that, man, that hits me in the feels, DK.
That is good stuff. Moan, let's do this again next week in advance of actual football.
This is better than any other production in the world, DK. Of course I'm coming back.
All right.